Hello everyone! So, a couple of days ago I entered the latest Arena Direct, which, if you don't know, is an event series run on Magic Arena in which you can win real-life cards. I adored Edge of Eternities, the most recent set, and that was what was on offer to win. I had some gems left over from the last time, several months ago, that I was into Arena, so I thought, yeah, let's have a go. Now, if I was a good YouTuber, I'd probably keep you in suspense about how I did, but I am not a good YouTuber. I entered twice initially. First time, badly assembled pile of Golgari mush took me to a respectable, probably undeserved 2-2 record. But second time, the time we're focusing on today, I went all the way. 7 wins, 1 loss, and there are 2 booster boxes in the post to me right now. I was pleasantly shocked, and at the time, I just put it down to having a good deck. To me, it seemed pretty solid. But the more I've played the format, the more I've reflected on it, the more I've seen other people engage with the format, the more weird and surprising this record has gotten. I've seen other players really struggle to get even close to this with very solid decks. Players much, much better than me. I also realised how off my card evaluations were, so I didn't really prepare for this format. So I did 2 pre-releases and I'd run 2 or 3 drafts on Arena, so I know the set reasonably well. I was quite invested in spoiler season. I know the cards, but I'd not played with them much in Limited, and some of my evaluations were sensationally off. So, for example, Red Tiger Mechan, this 4 mana 3/3 with haste that you can warp in for 2, did really well for me at the pre-release. I thought it was very solid. Turns out, second worst creature in the format, according to Draft Sim at least. And I had 2 of these in the deck, along with a Gravblade Heavy. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Gravblade Heavy. This 4 mana 3/4 that can get Death Touch when you have an artifact. Again, basically unplayable. Another card I had in the deck. The deck actually got worse and worse the more I looked at it and the more I played with the format. And frankly, I remembered playing decently, but I remembered some big misplays during my 7-win run. So yeah, that's basically why I'm making this video, so we can learn together about why I'm about to be the proud owner of 2 new boxes of Edge of Eternities. But if you'd like the short answer, so you can escape this video early, 1, I got incredibly lucky, and 2, Thumbing Hive Pool, not a fair Magic card. So, let's get into the deck building. Now, I'm not going to go into any particular detail on the deck building. I don't think that's probably worth your or my time, because I am not that good at deck builder, and there are so many obviously different lines we could have taken. But I really do think it's worth hammering home, like, I ran some bad cards in this deck. So, Gravblade Heavy, pretty terrible card. Red Tiger Mechan, I'm still affectionate for. It's still done work for me, but, people better at the game than me assure me that this guest card is, basically straight garbage. And I was passing up cards that to me read badly, but it turned out to be very strong. So Cut Propulsion read very weirdly to me. It's sort of a kill spell, but needs their power to be higher than their toughness, which I thought was a bit too fringe. Turns out to be highly playable, which makes sense. Flyers are a real problem in this format, and would have been especially for my deck. And I had a second Melded Moxite on offer. Again, very strong card. Played to me a lot better than it looked. It gives you obviously sort of a nice card draw, nice value, but it also curves out quite nicely. If you've got nothing else to do, you can 2-drop and then sack this on 3, while potentially holding up removal like Bombard. That happened a couple of times. Yeah, very strong line you can do. I think, in a way, you could already say, looking at this deck and my deck building, this should not have gone 7-1. I made some bad deck choices here. There's at least 4 or 5 actively bad cards, where there were plenty of other options I had available to me. And we'll talk about why it turned out to not matter later on. Well, actually, I can tell you right now, I got very lucky. I tended not to draw my bad cards. I saw the Red Tiger Mechans shockingly rarely, given that I had 2 in the deck. There are still strong cards in here, so the Thumbing Hive Pool and the Elegy, I'd say, are bombs. But 2 bombs alone is not enough to explain how this deck went the distance. I've seen many decks with arguably stronger bombs definitely not do that. In fact, well, you might disagree, but to me, based on where I'm at with the format, this is actually a fairly middling deck. Perfectly solid, but not one you'd say is a shoo-in for going the distance at all. So, the deck doesn't really explain it. We have to look at the games themselves. So let's do that. I'm not going to give you a blow-by-blow because I don't think it would be all that interesting, so we're just going to do high-level notes what happened. Game 1, I luck into a perfect curve and just kind of very one-sidedly stomp them out. The opponent has decent draws, not terrible, but on their turn 3 is drawing 2 and taking 2 damage, which is just not going to work against the kind of curve I had. Curve out perfectly, they didn't stand a chance. Not with their draws. Game 2, slightly more interesting. There was some significant back and forth early on, but I didn't see that many of my bad cards, and I saw both of my bombs just in time. So I got the Thumbing Pool down on turn 6, really gummed up the board when it was otherwise a potentially losing situation for me. And the opponent did have removal for the Thumbing Pool. This is the one and only game someone managed to actually remove the Thumbing Pool, but it didn't matter because I had the Elegy Acolyte right on time to start drawing me a card and making a robot every turn. Just lucked into the bombs at exactly the right time. Game 3, opponent just drew terribly. Absolutely terribly. They basically did nothing until turn 6, at which point the game was so completely over. And I didn't have a very good draw, I just did stuff before turn 6, so I won. Game 4, again, opponent did next to nothing. Well, that's not fair, actually. They got mana screwed badly. They had a good 2-drop into a good 3-drop, which I removed. They missed their land on turn 4 and did nothing. They missed their land drop again on turn 5 and did actually nothing. And then saw me play a Thumbing Pool and folded. Totally legitimate decision. Sad non-game for them. Easy, unearned W for me. Game 5, so I'm not dwelling on like individual plays. That kind of actually was my original plan for this video. I just don't think it'd be that interesting, but I got to highlight in Game 5. There were two massive misplays that lost me the game, and one interesting play that also lost me the game. So, keeping this mulligan, I have no idea what I was thinking. I do remember distinctly on turn 1 thinking that was a mistake, but what a mistake. Two lands, no 1-drop, no 2-drop. What the heck am I thinking? I deserve to lose this game just on the mulligan. I would have won if I'd warped in this guy on turn 1. I lost the game by 1 health. And there was a massive misplay late in the game where I had 2 options for plays, and I played the one right into 2 open mana with a common blue counterspell that I was well aware of. Just massive misplays. And even then, the opponent still needed a very strange rare board wipe to win the game out of nowhere on 1 health with an empty board. So, respect to the opponent, I 100% deserve to lose game 4. I 100% deserve to lose game 5. Game 6 was another close back and forth, which I looked like I was very much losing. They countered my kill spell with this nasty spaceship on board. Looked like I'd lost. I basically needed a specific top deck. And what do you know? I top decked the exact card I needed, killed the spaceship, ran away with the game afterwards with the Thumbing Pool. Game 7, another easy Thumbing Pool win. Terrible curve from my opponent. They basically did nothing. And then Game 8, another terrible curve from our opponents. They didn't really do much until turn 4 or 5, by which point I'd easily run away with the game. And yeah, that is it. That is our 7-1 record. That is the story of how I came to have £300 worth of cardboard coming to me in the post. And I'm really glad I did this. It's not really until watching the games back. I knew I'd got lucky, but good gosh. I got so... There were so many non-games. Our opponent did terribly. Game 1, our opponent didn't do anything really. Game 3, our opponent draws terribly, does nothing till turn 6, we win. Game 4, opponent does nothing. Game 7, our opponent does nothing. Game 8, our opponent does nothing. There was, 4, 5 games where our opponent just curved out terribly. We're talking nothing on turn 2, into nothing on turn 3, into weak turn 4. And you might kind of be wondering, as I was, is this kind of expected for Sealed? And I've now, spoilers, played this format more after I was feeling all smug after my 7-1 victory and thought, I'll run it back, see if I can get some more packs. And we're not going to go into any detail, but I have since had much, much stronger decks, which I've played much better, and gosh, I got so lucky. And in fact, not only did our opponents draw terribly, and in many cases play terribly, we didn't get majorly screwed. I misplayed a lot. I misplayed loads. In fact, I highlighted some of the most devastating ones. But I never got completely screwed. I never had to mulligan to less than 6. I didn't really flood out, at least not when it was relevant. I didn't get, draw no lands when it would have been relevant. And not just were my land draws on point, but I also didn't see the bad cards. Like, the answer of how can you win with so many bad cards in your deck, I didn't draw the Slag Drill Scrapper once. Red Tiger Mechan, barely saw it. I had 2 in the deck. And how many times did I have to play on turn 2? I think 0? How many games did I get the Timeline Colour on turn 1? I think 3, maybe 4? Yeah, I think this was an unrepeatably lucky run. And I'm very grateful, because I'm looking forward to cracking some packs. But I cannot tell you how humbling it is to review this footage and see, not just my misplays, but just again, how humblingly lucky I got. Because, sure, Thumbing Hive Pool is a bomb. If you can stick that on a sort of gummed up board, or a board that's on your side, you're almost certainly going to win. But there were bigger bombs in the set, and I just didn't see any. I didn't run into any Ejaculates. I didn't run into any Arboroids. I don't think I saw any strong decks. I'm used to writing video essays, where you obviously want to try and end on some punchy point. I don't know what my summary point is here. Sometimes you get completely lucky. That's it. I built an average deck. I made far from the most of a solid sealed pool, and I lucked my way into a sensationally unlucky set of opponents. And what can I say? Sometimes you get incredibly lucky and get the W. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. Hopefully you found this enjoyable, and not too infuriating, seeing me kind of Mr. Bean my way into winning in this way. I've really enjoyed making this video. I really enjoyed reflecting on my games. I think it's not something I'd ever would have thought to do before thinking about sort of making content for Magic, but it's really helpful watching back and reflecting on what you did well or badly. There was some misplays I was aware of, but many more that I spotted on rewatch. So next time I play Edge of Eternities, I will almost certainly do it better. But I almost certainly won't do better, because this feels like it's not quite lightning bolt lucky, but this is watching them all back, and now having played more sealed in this format, this was uncommonly lucky. And yeah, I'm grateful that the heart of the cards are on my side. Thank you all for watching. You can't possibly have found this instructive, but maybe you found it enjoyable. And yeah, this is obviously my first video about Magic. I've got another channel where I write sort of like more rambly video essays about games that I think are interesting. This is me dipping my toe into the world of Magic content creation. So if you enjoyed this, let me know. If you would like to see more videos like this or more from me in future in the Magic realm, yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Obviously, chuck us a subscribe, chuck us a thumbs up, chuck us a comment, you know, all the usual stuff that makes the algorithm go, hey, we like you, we like your moxie. Yeah, do all those things if you're minded to, and maybe see you soon. Thank you.